Good morning, good afternoon, evening, wherever you're coming in from, listening, viewing, just welcome to you all. I'm happy to be here, happy to see you here. Leadership is best taught by a leader. Today, we're going to learn leadership lessons from the words and model of visionary change agent, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. By examining King's ability to cast an aspirational vision and strategy for change, and his talent for inspiring action through powerful communications, you'll gain some practical insights into leadership that can drive results through people centered innovation. I'll highlight Martin Luther King Jr.'s timeless quotes and connect his strategic thinking to equip you to lead skillfully, courageously, and with passion. Learning from this master leader can bring out the best in yourself and others. For those of you I haven't met yet, I'm Dr. Geneva, leadership expert, certified life coach, and top LinkedIn leadership voice. And I can't tell you how excited I am about this conversation in this week that we're celebrating Martin Luther King Jr.'s holiday and all that he represented and brought to all of us. You see, I grew up under the influence of Martin Luther King. I studied him, I watched him, I saw him. I was living in the time that he was alive and bringing everything, all his wisdom, his courage, his inspiration, his words, everything to us. I can remember exact moments, the marches, the speeches, the protest, what I was doing. I can remember exactly where I was, what I was doing when he was assassinated on April 4th, 1968. I've written about him. I've been asked to give speeches about him, particularly on his holiday. I pulled out. I've gotten. I don't know if you can see this. Oh, can you see it? Okay. So I've gotten awards for him. This is the Martin Luther King Jr. Award that I received in modeling his leadership style, and I received this from Western Michigan University. And I wrote a book about my dad, who also was a civil rights activist. And it is, I brought these things so you could see. I know y'all can tell how excited I am about this conversation. And this was the book that I wrote about my dad, who also was a civil rights activist, an ordinary man he was, but his legacy intertwined with my dad's. And there was so much about Dr. Martin Luther King and his words, but we really haven't spent a lot of time studying his leadership style and how what he did, his sayings, his quotes, um, were about and from a leader, and how he was able to inspire and organize and strategize and lead the largest voluntary movement in our history. It was extraordinary. And it's so much the study of leadership. And so that's why I wanted to, during this celebratory week, I wanted to bring forth his quotes and his words and show how we can use them in our leadership journey as a way to inspire us, to give us passion, but also to give us practical insights and advice on how to be the best leader we can be. After all, leadership is best taught by a leader. So let's get started. I'd first like to know, what's your favorite Martin Luther King saying or quote or words? Please put it in the chat. Don't forget also to say hello, and so delighted that you're here, and welcome. And I'd love to know what you're thinking about on this Martin Luther King Day, and as we're celebrating his legacy, let's look at some of the, most famous quotes, and some perhaps that aren't. But these quotes, I think, are great leadership lessons for us. The first is, faith is taking the first step, even when you don't see the whole staircase. First step, even when you don't see what you're stepping out into. Uh-huh. Yes. So what do you all think about that one? Here's what I believe is so key about this quote, what the lesson is in it. And that is, as leaders, often we have to lead despite uncertainty. And so leadership requires us having that faith to take action toward a goal, even when the full plan or solution isn't visible yet. We don't know what it is. Now, that faith could be your belief in a higher power. It could be your belief in yourself, in your confidence. It could be your belief in the mission of whatever it is you're trying to do, or a combination of all those things. But what it says is that you have that faith, you have that feeling, and you take action. And I can't tell you how many times we as leaders face those unknown situations. And I know you have as well. Leave me a comment, a thumbs up. Let's do that. A thumbs up if you faced a situation before as a leader where you weren't too sure about what to do or what next step to take. I can remember when I started um, my journey, my leadership journey into a whole new realm. I had been with um, this fabulous organization, and I started at the bottom and went up all the steps and finally became the head of the organization. And it was fabulous. I had reached what I thought was the pinnacle of what I wanted to do in my leadership journey. And along came an opportunity, however, that just seemed incredible. Now, I didn't have all of the details, and I didn't know where it was going to lead, because this opportunity had never been done before. I had been asked to start a national model, a new national model, that on collaboration, bringing folk around the table to agree on certain community issues that they wanted to pursue, and then in common and in agreement pursue dollars to bring in more investment into the community. And this had never been tried before. So no one knew what the deal was going to be. I mean, it clearly was an uncertain kind of thing. And it also involved me taking a pay cut, a significant one, and also stepping into something which would be a complete startup. So I was filled with uncertainty. And but I took the step. And one of the things that I learned was that inside of us, we can have a couple of things that can help us take that first step. And that has to do with vision, values, and expected outcomes. So let me say a little bit about this. And this is the lesson from this quote about faith is taking the first step, even when you don't see the whole staircase. Well, when you don't see that whole staircase, what you can do is focus on those three things. What do you believe? Your values. What are the things that are important to you? Consider that as you're having to deal with uncertain times or uncertain moves. Your vision. What are the kinds of things that you want to see happen? What's that goal that you see? What's that dream that you see? What can you as a leader make possible? What can you see when perhaps many others don't see? And then what are the things that you want to see come out of whatever leadership you provide, whatever influence you provide? Those three things, determining your vision, knowing your clarity on your values, and figuring out what it is that you want to see done can in fact help with taking that first unknown step in any unknown situation. And you notice that these tips that I'm giving you in terms of looking at your values, your vision, and what is it that you want to see come out of any particular situation is all really self-directed to you as a leader. I'm not talking about your particular strategic skills or the kinds of how you interact with people. No, I'm talking about when you approach those uncertain situations and you feel you're not ready to take that first step, or you're fearful or uncertain about that first step. Go inside of yourself and think about your value, your visions, and your outcomes that you'd like to see. And I think that's the lesson that we get from uh, faith is taking the first step, even when you don't see the whole staircase, because we as leaders will be faced with that situation, in fact, more times than the other situation, which might be where everything is laid out for us and everything is perfect. That usually doesn't happen in leadership. So lead despite uncertainty. I'd like to get your reaction to, do you feel that leading when you don't have all of the answers, when you don't know what to do, can in fact be done if you step out in faith? Good morning, Abu. Good to see you. Good to see everyone who is signing in. Let's look at another quote from Martin Luther King, one of my favorites. All of these are my favorites, probably. If you want to move people, it has to be toward a vision that's positive for them, that taps important values, that gets them something they desire. And it has to be presented in a compelling way so that they feel inspired to follow. Now, that's a mouthful of a lesson there. And yes, those words, I remember so well about vision and Dr. Martin Luther King. And he, as he talked about, if you want to move people, it has to be toward vision. He was a vision a master vision crafter. I remember the um, March on Washington in 63. Now, I wanted to go. I can't tell you. I begged my parents, please let me go. I was a teenager then. And I wanted to go, but my mom didn't. She felt that the crowds would be too big. It would be too much for me to go. So I said, okay, but my dad went and I wanted to go with him. It just wasn't fair, but he was all excited. I remember him getting up early in the morning, taking the train down to DC. We were in Jersey, so it was only about a 3 or 4 hour train ride, taking it down to DC. And my mom and I, we had friends and neighbors over to the house and we watched it on TV. And there was so much excitement going on. You could just feel it in the room. It was live, just watching it and seeing the thousands and thousands and thousands of people. It was just exciting. And then all of a sudden, a hush fell over the room. And it was because Martin Luther King Jr. stepped to the podium and began his words and cast a vision that everyone, so many people, could tap into, could hear the values spoken, the words saying things that everyone desired. And it was so compelling and so moving that you were just drawn in by it. That's the thing we as leaders must learn how to do with our vision. The lesson from these words is that we must inspire action with vision. So that we need to really think about the dream, the what we see, that vision that we have as we lead people in our teams or as we run our businesses, as we lead our nonprofit organization. What's the vision? What's that personal statement that's aspirational to us that we can see and we can help others see? This is one of the critical aspects of leadership and is so very important to your journey as a leader, to be able to unite people around an exciting aspirational vision. And then here's the part, because if we just see the vision and we're compelling and our communication skills are up to snuff and we get that vision out there, we can talk it, we can wrap it, hey, we got it. But then we must be able to build a strategy that achieves the vision. And by laying out the choices to be made on what to do and what not to do. And Martin Luther King Jr. was a master at doing both. Because as you listen to his words, as you listen to his quotes, as you listen to his speeches, you will hear his not only that aspirational vision that he talks about, but the how it is we need to do it. And so this becomes so important for leaders and making sure that our vision is uplifting, that it taps into people's values and dreams and offers a goal that speaks to them, that is clear, that's, they can almost reach out and touch that goal. And then make sure that you engender the feeling that sparks the interest, that sparks the meaning, that sparks others to action, and compel people to follow and to lead, sometimes from behind. That's okay. But the thing is that the vision is out front, and using your communication skills, making sure they're exquisite to be able to do that and being able to put together that strategy. How many of you have had that experience in really crafting a vision that is so inspirational, people follow it? Or you may be struggling to, put that together. But work at it because it's possible you can, in fact, do it. This is one of the hallmarks of most leaders, that is being able to craft that vision. And of course, if you need any help with that, DM me. How's everybody doing out there? Hoping this day is fine. Um, I'm seeing, okay. All right. Hello. Hello. How's everyone? Coming in the comments. Leave a comment for me. I'd love to see those comments. Are you ready for? Let's see. Let's go to this quote. Change does not roll in on the wheels of inevitability, but comes through continuous struggle. How many of you have struggled uh, being a leader? No, I have to raise my hand. I am, say that. Yes, yes. Because that's what happens. But as leaders, we must actively drive transformation. So we've got to be a player in leadership. Players can be active and vocal, and they can also listen. I'm not suggesting that you're out there all the time leading everything, talking about it. No, no, no. But you have to be present, and you have to figure out ways with yourself and with the others that you lead to actively drive transformation. This particular quote: change does not roll in on the wheels of inevitability. In other words, because it's change, it's definitely coming. But you have to be active to create it, to force it, to make it happen, to drive transformation. And it's a continuous thing you have to do all the time. You got to be there. You got to be present. This particular quote reminds me of my dad, who um, fought the good fight as an ordinary man. He was a government worker, and he was a civil rights activist. He believed in opening doors of opportunity wherever uh, he went. He used to always say to me, Gigi, that's my nickname, my family nickname. He used to say to me, I'm an American. We're an American family. There are the riches and benefits of living in this country that we deserve as well. And he believed that. And he believed that for everyone that he came in contact with. But one day, as he was trying to move us, the family, into this beautiful new residential area, he faced a big fat no. He was told, we don't build homes in this area for Negroes, quote unquote. And he couldn't understand that. He couldn't accept that. He couldn't believe it. And he said, I've got to change this, not only for me and my family, but for others who want to live where they want to live. And so that began a continuous struggle for that change, a 3-year fight, all the way up to the New Jersey Supreme Court, where he won a unanimous decision for the realtors to build my dad his home. And it was a landmark case that changed housing discrimination laws in New Jersey. He knew that change would not be inevitable unless he did something about it. And we as leaders must also recognize that the reason we have the influence that we have is to make use of it to create change, to make things better, to whatever that is, to get more profits in your business, to carry out that mission in your nonprofit organization, to raise up and enhance the skills of the team that you manage at your workplace, whatever it is. Leadership is about influence that creates change, that makes something better. But it's not something that you can just sit back and relax and wait and it's going to come on up in there. Mm-mm. No, you've got to do it, and it's got to be continuous, and it probably going to be tough. I always laugh at um, the um, particularly, I think, younger leaders that I coach who really, are so excited about this leadership journey and often see it as, oh, it's going to be out front and these wonderful things and the accolades and the glory. And I say to them, yes, leadership is so rewarding, but it's really not a beauty pageant where you just go along and ride and wave and etc. and see get all the glory. Most of the times, leadership is tough, it's hard, it's lonely, and you got to struggle with it. You got to grapple with that because it's so dynamic. And as you're trying to influence change, there really are a lot of moving parts that you have to work with, and particularly in today's time. And that's why Martin Luther King's words of many years ago are so applicable to today, because change does not roll in on the wheels of inevitability, but comes through continuous struggle. So remember, when you might have the deepest urge to throw in that towel, that inner voice that you might get that's saying you on one side, why are you doing this? This is tough work. Remember that other voice that reminds you why you stepped into a leadership role, why you took on this in the first place. And I'm sure it was about creating some change, making things better, and let that guide you as you remember that leaders actively drive transformation. Thank you for your comments about this one and what it means to us as leaders to drive change. So tell me what you're thinking so far. Good morning, Carmen. How are you? So good to see you. Have you experienced a situation that was tough and sometimes maybe got you to wonder, why am I a leader? Why am I here? Why am I doing this? If you have, let me know in the comments. And don't forget, if there's anything that I can help you with on this leadership journey, just DM me, direct message me, and let's have that conversation. Let's look at a quote that I think is so special. Life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others? Yeah, that's one of my favorites. How many of you have heard this quote before, or even um, have seen it, read it, like it, or perhaps use it for a mantra like I do? Let me know in the comments. Um, yes, life's most persistent and urgent question. What is it you doing for somebody else? What are you doing for others? And while it's truly, as King puts it, life's most persistent question, it also is a question that we as leaders must always ask, should always ask, to help guide us in our decision making process in the things that we do. Um, this quote in particular reminds me of a lot of things, but one of the things I want to share with you, on my podcast, I interviewed one time Dave Bing. Many of you know him as a fantastic Hall of Famer, top basketball players in the country, who turned into an extraordinarily successful businessman and then became mayor of Detroit. And there's probably a lot of you who know of one or two of those career shifts, but the one that brings him the most joy now, and the one that we talked about on my podcast, Ignite to Impact, is the work that he's doing with young people now. And he talks about it as his most rewarding work and what he wanted to do for others. And he talked about how his good fortune and what he experienced, his upbringing, he wanted to share. But he also realized that he was just one person. So he went out and recruited and challenged other Black men who he knew to help work with young men and boys. And he decided to start this program to mentor young people, to expose them to what life is all about and the role that they can play as they grow up and the role they can play in their communities. And as I listened to him talk about his latest venture in his life, his latest career shift, transition shift, you could hear the excitement in his voice like no other, because he was building a legacy that matters. And this is one of the things that we as leaders really need to think about. If you as a leader have not had the chance to really sit back and ask yourself that question, what's the legacy I want to leave? What is it that I want to do, to leave, to um, have people think about me, have an impact on someone, whatever it is, you need to. It's not only it's a strategic thing to do, as well as it can help motivate and inspire you when things get tough, because they will. But it also, and most importantly, gives purpose and gives meaning to what it is you're doing. And so as those things do get tough, as you fight those struggles, as you come up and you got to, create more businesses, or you got to work with donors, you got to raise that money, whatever those things that come up, having that purpose and meaning is so critical. And building a legacy that matters also means that we're going to reach and touch somebody else or somebody's else. And providing that opportunity and inspiration for younger generations is going to matter. And that helps build our legacy. So we're in a position as leaders because we're role models. And it's that role modeling that will make a difference in the lives of team members, employees, staff, anyone that we're working with. And so as leaders, Having your game plan for legacy is very important. It's something that you can be very intentional about, think about, craft, and implement through your leadership. And it's an important dynamic of leadership that matters. And that is why Martin Luther King raised the question of what are you doing for others? It wasn't just about being in service, but also about how you lead, how you influence, and how you inspire. And when we wrap all of that together, that makes a difference in leadership. So, those are the lessons that I wanted to leave with you today from Martin Luther King as we study and think about him. Leadership is best taught by a leader. And the leadership lessons from the words and the model of visionary change agent, Dr. Martin Luther King, really can give us insights, inspiration, and hope for building aspirational visions, for creating strategies for change, for learning the importance of powerful communication and sharpening up them communication skills that we've got, and gaining the kinds of insights that can drive results. And I'm hoping that you thinking about these quotes that we've talked about from the great Dr. Martin Luther King will inspire you and also um, connect your thinking, your game planning, your crafting of your leadership style. The things about creating vision and making it so compelling. The whole idea about you may not be ready, but you need to step out. And that often leaders have to lead through uncertainty. The ability to create vision that inspires action and drives transformation. And then the essential question of what is it that we're doing for others? So I hope you've enjoyed uh, this conversation today. I say hello to all of you who are out there. If there's anything that you'd like to talk with me about further, or if there's any way that I can help you become even better in your leadership and help you through your leadership journey, DM me, direct message me. I'd love to have the opportunity to talk with you. And may you enjoy this week and the rest of the year. Thank you. See you next time.